डॉक्टर मदन थंगवेलू जी का स्वागत करता हूं। मैं अपने वक्ता मेरे भाई डॉक्टर प्रशांत सरकार का स्वागत करता हूं। आदरणीय डॉक्टर विधि बापना जी जुड़ी हुई हैं मेरे साथ, मैं उनका स्वागत करता हूं। और डॉक्टर अनुपमा मित्रा मेरी बहन, वर्षों से मेरे साथी, उनका मैं स्वागत करता हूं। आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट Dr. Madan Thangavelu. He is a genome biologist and a very renowned person in genome biological definitely field, and he is very much interested and expert in Ayurveda. Along with Ayurveda, he is dealing with biological diversity. It is a great MRC Lab of Molecular Biology, Research Director of European Ayurvedic Association, Cambridge, UK. मीन्स उनकी तारीफ करना सूर्य को दीपक दिखाना है। मैं वो चेष्टा नहीं करूंगा। मैं क्षमा चाहते हुए एक आदरणीय व्यक्तित्व, बहुत ही प्रख्यात व्यक्तित्व श्री मदन थंगवेलू जी को निमंत्रित करता हूं कि हमें मार्ग निर्देशित करें और उद्घाटन करें इस सेशन का। धन्यवाद। बहुत बहुत
शर्मा जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हमारी हिंदी थोड़ी कमजोर है जी, तो
प्लीज कंटिन्यू इन इंग्लिश।
आपके परमिशन लेके अगर अंग्रेजी में करें तो थोड़ा सा आसानी रहेगा हमारे लिए।
Definitely sir, we are eager to listen you.
Thank you ji, thank you. So thank you Sharma ji, thank you to our esteemed presenters here with me. It's a delight to be with all of you today on this special day, and it's a delight to be presenting on this connection between biodiversity and human health. And this is a concept and a search that much of the world is starting to want to learn about. And for me, what I find exciting is that this idea of the connection between the biodiversity and everything in the universe with human health is already described in great detail and with greatest clarity in Ayurveda. And when the world is searching desperately for a language and how to put all this seemingly unconnected things together, Ayurveda has already talked about this, not as a research paper, but as a completed study that is converted into a textbook and many textbooks. So the textbook that we are all familiar with, Charaka Samhita, when we look into it, in every chapter you get lessons of this interconnection with biodiversity and the world and the universe in large. I want to present this in the context of two or three windows into this question, and I want to look at it in a very proximal way about the very narrow definition that's given for biodiversity. And I want to put this in a slightly more, in that middle area where we, with a little bit of research, we can grapple and we can understand these things. And finally, the more distant ideas that are found very well described in our Ayurveda yoga texts and in our different siddhants and in our darshanas in particular, the different darshanas, which is familiar to us, but sometimes alien to our own needs and extremely foreign to people outside India. So this is the background I want to go through. I will take you through a few images on my slides, just to give you an idea of where my mind is in terms of this thinking and why, most of all, it's very important and why it is of some urgency to think of a new direction for us. So these are the broad areas that I want to present. So before I set off, I want to thank Sharmaji once again for drawing me into this and the organizations who are involved with this. Clearly, it's a lot of work to put something like this together. Sharmaji, with your permission, I'm going to share my screen.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I hope it works. Please tell me if it is not working, but it should work. So first of all, here we are. If Sharmaji, if you'll tell me if it is working all right. Is my screen, is the screen visible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hello. Yes.
So I want to thank all the colleagues here today, Sarkar ji, Saklani ji, Vidhi ji, Anupama ji, and everybody who come together here today. I want to present the whole discussion in the context of the need for the future in terms of interdisciplinary research. And I wish to also point towards the concept of wellness and well-being. And you will see the connections I'm drawing with biodiversity as we go along. But most of all, I want to highlight the lessons we can have from India's ancient systems of health and well-being. And in the context of the catchphrase integrative medicine, and I want to highlight that the future of global healthcare systems and medical education and research will come out of our Indian systems of medicine. So for many people, this might come across as a very radical view that how can India's ancient systems guide the future of global healthcare systems and medical education and research. I hope I can quickly take you through and convey the connections, at least as seen in my mind. This was an image that we were all introduced to last year, and the culprit is up here. This was on the 4th of August 2020. That figure of 23 million people migrating away from cities was underestimated. It would have been closer to 50 million people.
Sir, your presentation is not visible.
It's not moving.
No, it's not moving, sir.
Not moving. Let me, bear with me.
Yes, now it is okay. Yes.
Now is it okay now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, let me see. Is that, Sharmaji, is the whole screen visible? Or is it only, I will try and advance my screen. Please tell me if it is advancing. Is that?
Yes, yes, it is advancing, sir.
Okay, it's advancing. In which case, just for it to be a little more visible, let me just scale this out a little bit. I don't know why. I'm going to, Sharmaji, sorry for this. I'm going to try once again sharing my whole screen sometime.
And go for slideshow, sir.
Slideshow. Tell me if it is connecting. Is it connecting?
It's connected. We are viewing your screen.
Okay, now tell me. I'm going to advance the screen. Is it advancing? Has it moved to the next slide?
No.
No. Okay, there is a problem here, but I will proceed with this unless. My apologies for this.
Once stop sharing, then again please share.
Okay, let me do that. I will do that. I'm going to put this here, and I stop sharing and start again. Thank you. We tested this earlier. It was working, but there is a problem. I'm starting again, Sharmaji.
Right.
Correct me if there is a problem. Is my screen visible?
Yes, now it's okay, sir.
Is it shifting?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. There is some, I guess I haven't quite figured out how the WebEx screen shifting works, but here it is. This is an image we saw in August, and the culprit known to all of us. It's on everybody's mind the world over, this small virus. We have learned a lot about it. We've learned about the severity of the problem. We've learned about new variants that are coming out constantly in different parts of the world. and a new variant coming out from India with mutations. We understand all those details, but we still don't understand the complexity of the symptoms and how it changes. Now, what is the consequence of this small virus that's been going around? These are images. There are many more frightening graphic images of this kind. This is a year later, not even a year later. That earlier image was August. This is April this year. So in less than a year's time, this is how the situation has changed. Now, if we look at the statistics, today morning, this is what we have. Apologies for this typo here, but India, this is where our statistics are for this disease. The connection I want to make is with biodiversity. I'll show you where this and the importance of biodiversity. Let's come to that. So India right now has the mortalities nearing in 300,000. And what is exciting here is this figure. If you look at deaths per million population, compared to some of the other countries, although the number of cases are very, very high, the total number of deaths are very low. We are only about 212 deaths per million population. Some people say these figures are not the correct estimate, but whatever the case, it's still much, much lower than other parts of the world. Now, is this the end of such problems? The UK's National Health Service has listed here a series of what they call HCIDs, high consequence infectious diseases. And SARS is here as one of the 8 airborne high consequence diseases versus the contact HCDs. Now, as population density increases, as our cities get crowded, as people start to travel around the world more, these kind of infections and the consequences are worrying, and we must prepare for these things. It's here that Ayurveda is informing us, and this is a wonderful term that is from the old textbook of medicine, Charaka Samhita and the other texts, and known for people for over 2,500 years. And it's such a beautiful word, Vyadhi Kshamatva, the resistance to a disease. And sometimes I feel we have understood it, but sometimes I feel we are far from understanding all this. And the image here is from the CCRA's recommendations about Vyadhi Kshamatva, how to increase your body's immunity. And it talks about use of plants and animal products, cow milk, cow ghee, to improve, and then some non-pharmacological interventions like sleeping, exercise, to improve your resistance. We somehow as a community, as an Ayurveda community, we come up to this point presenting richness of a deep idea, but we are not able to take this forward. We have listed all the plants, giloy and tulsi and the amla and the asparagus, which is shut out. Various plants we have listed there, but we are not able to take it to the next level and to convert it into a high impact idea. And what is the reason for this? Let us come back to some other aspects like dinacharya, ritucharya. These are very rich ideas, non-pharmacological, physiological interventions that can provide resistance. Once again, we seem to have a direction, we seem to have an idea, but we don't know how to use this with confidence. From the Unani system, I put the slide up just to compare what is in the Unani system on the right-hand side here, Arkezib, and the links with the Ayurvedic recommendations that are made. If you look in this list here, you will see Ayurvedic immunity promoting measures, Pudina, Ajwain versus Arkezib, that also has Pudina and Ajwain together with Kafur, camphor. Now, these are very exciting things because deep within this is very important connections to physiology and neuroanatomy, and somehow we are not able to connect with these things. Now, another big issue that touches the environment, which is where biodiversity dwells, is this about air pollution. And this is a very recent study early this year, links between air pollution and COVID-19 in England. And the WHO has now recognized this. It is trying to tell the world, we have to worry about the quality of air. Now, for me, when we talk about the air, Ayurveda and our yoga texts already touch on the importance of the quality of the environment. And for me, this seems like a revisit of what is already in our texts. And environmental factors that impact biodiversity and dwindling of species, etc. But somehow we are not able to forcefully connect these things. And also the connection with the Sustainable Development Goals. And everybody is familiar with this. And when I look within our Ayush systems, I find some of the best descriptions found in Unani medicine. Of course, it is known in Ayurveda, Siddha medicine, all of these things are known. But here is the 6 Zaruriya, the 6 essential factors for good health. And this is described so beautifully, coming back almost more than 2,000 years ago. Where is our lack of momentum to connect with these ideas? And what is it that we are doing? Here is one area where there is some discussion, things are going on, and how we are understanding some of the ideas, but we are not able to scale it up for different things and to connect it with larger organizations in other parts of the world, like the UK's Research and Innovation Council. And there is a disconnect between what is known to us and what needs to be done. Now, this is the UK Research and Innovation Group's understanding of animal and plant health, the connection between animal and plant health. When we look in our Vedas, in Rig Veda and some of the Upanishads, we see all this described there. There are big, long chapters in the Rig Veda that talks about animal health and the links with plant health. It talks about the Maruts, and it talks about how these interactions were described and understood in the old ancient days. And we seem to be revisiting, but somehow we are not able to present our vision into the ongoing dialogues. In terms of our rich concept of Mahashrotas and the concept of the Pranavahashrotas, or the rich Ayurvedic concepts of Mulastan of the different Shrotas. When we look at modern biology, here is an example, the gut-lung axis. And I'm sure if we look in any of our Ayurveda texts, many of these things are described in detail about how you might use certain bhasmas, say Abrak bhasma, to improve the functioning of the Pranavahashrotas. And what we have here is another detail that is added to this about the gut-lung axis. Many of our documents talk about this. Yoga will talk about this part, the lung immune system. And many of the Ayurvedic ideas will talk about this piece of it, on the gut and how the gut and the immune system works. Sharmaji, there is some background noise coming from somebody's microphone. Oh. So here is what we have, where the understanding is. And for me, when I look at papers of this kind, I see a perfect similarity and a perfect overlap between Ayurvedic yogic understanding of human health and prana, and the connections with concepts like Shahaja Krimi. It's a very important concept, how that fits into this area, and maybe some aspects of Shahaja Krimi that actually fits in here. And how it provides for good health. There is an opportunity for Ayurveda to enrich these things and these kind of dialogues that are going on from perspectives that are connected to the embryogenesis. many of the Ayurvedic concepts go into understanding embryogenesis, but in a very indirect way. And the one that I particularly like is this the masa system for what a mother should do and what a mother should eat and not eat, the Garbhini Parcharya kind of thing. And when we overlay that understanding with the modern understanding of embryogenesis, we see a lot of opportunity for using the proximal side of biodiversity, where we talk about certain foods that are very important for the growth and development of the baby at specific stages during the mother's the pregnancy. Now, there are subtler ideas in terms of the stellar aspects, the astrological aspects, which I don't want to go into here, but it is connected to in a very subtle way. Now, the modern biology research and genome biology research and cell biology research, this is where it is wanting to go. Ayurveda has an opportunity in terms of the understanding of biodiversity and plants and our complex formulations to help provide interventions to understand aspects of the human body at the finest resolution. This is at single cell level in terms of the concept of Deha Paramanu, for instance. You people know so much, the Ayurveda community knows so much about Deha Paramanu and how it is understood in terms of the Panjabhutik Siddhant, but we are not able to make a bridge between these two. The reason for this could be because we haven't initiated a dialogue between these kind of groups. If you look within the Human Cell Atlas group, which you can locate the details at this link, you will find that they have brought together a huge community of minds: biologists, clinicians, technologists, physicists, computational scientists, software engineers, mathematicians. They're all working together. But we don't see any Ayurveda dialogue into this interaction. And this is running out of the Broad Institute in States. I feel there is a lot of opportunities and a lot that Ayurveda can provide. Now, looking at the human body at the level of single cells, I want to take you to the concept of skin, twak. And what is there when we start to understand the skin at the level of single cells and neurons. Here is what we see. We see, which is, again, I'm not presenting anything new to the Ayurvedic community because you routinely use this as a treatment system. You use the skin, Abhyanga you do, and you have an understanding of how to do treatments based on Abhyanga. And you have so many other complicated heat-based treatments or cold-based treatments on the skin that provides healing responses. Now, when we look at it from the perspective of the Deha Paramanus as described by the Broad Institute, this is what you see. The skin has a very complex set of neurons here. Neurons capable of feeling pain and heat and cold, neurons capable of feeling touch, different kinds of neurons that can feel touch, a hard massage versus a soft massage. You are practicing all this on a daily basis, but we are not able to make this dialogue happen. Pressure sensing neurons, etc., etc. Your understanding of twak, the skin, is so detailed and deep, comparable to the cellular descriptions. So from here, I'd quickly jump to the even more richer concept, which is on this slide here, taken from a valuable website. I've offered the link at the bottom. The concept of the Shad Rasa, the 6 tastes. And for me, this is genius work. The level of genius here is so amazing that you can take 6 tastes and you can control physiology. Using this concept of neurons, which you don't describe, but using these concepts as the intermediates. And for me, this is more than a simple schematic, but the sheer genius of this is shown up here. The Vimshati gunas, the 20 gunas, the opposite types, and how very cleverly you can use this for treatment. How you can approach treatment based on gunas. There is so much within that simple concept. And within this, you use natural variation, you use dravyas, you use any Panjabhutik aspect as a potential dravya by drilling it down to the level of gunas. Now, I feel this is a great opportunity for enabling this incredible dialogue between people who are understanding cells at such great detail and understanding your understanding of gunas. Now, moving to the whole concept of biodiversity, there are now several resources available for anybody who has access to the web to understand global biodiversity information. And this is particularly important for Ayurveda and Ayurvedic thinking, because Ayurveda starts off by believing that everything is a potential dravya. Everything that is manifest is a potential dravya. And that richness, that confidence comes from a deep understanding of the creation of the making, the conversion of avyakt to vyakt. Your knowledge system goes down to that level, from the unmanifest, the avyakt, to vyakt. And clearly, anything that is vyakt is only what can appear as biodiversity. So that transition, we are not able to, the connection that we should be making, that when I say we, I mean the Ayurvedic community, I also mean the molecular biology and the cell biology people. They are not coming together. And I feel there is a gap there, but it's not a gap that cannot be bridged. This is one example of a medicinal plant database. I'm shifting now into the medicinal plant area. Here is an example of a medicinal plant database, a small one though, and again, accessible to anybody who has access to the web. And this is a database relating to plants that are used in both veterinary and human medicine in sub-Saharan Africa. So it's got about 1,000 plants or thereabouts, 2,000 plants and synonyms, etc. Now, that compared to that resource, running out of Bangalore in India is this incredible database. This is the world's, as far as my understanding is concerned, this is the world's largest database of just medicinal plants. It's hosted by the Envis Center on Medicinal Plants at the Transdisciplinary University. On the bottom here is the web page for this website. It has increasing in popularity. Aconitum ferox, shown here on the left, is one of the plants that you people routinely use in Ayurveda. When you go into this database, you will see the level of depth within this database. It talks about Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani medicine, and somewhere in there also the Tibetan medicine systems, and it gives you a brief outline about these things. And it has within that section on the frequently asked questions, you can see all this information. Now, all these drop-down menus will take you into very rich resources within the database. You will see up here, the database has 7,637 botanical names for about 6,200 medicinal plants. And more interestingly, vernacular names in 12 languages across India. And this is the kind of resource that is available now. And it talks about the diversity that is understood, that is there, that is understood by our community, by either the learned academicians or the common man who is out there in the villages using these herbs on a routine basis and getting health benefits out of this. Now, within this, I want to highlight particularly the red listed medicinal plants. There are about just under 200 species of red-listed medicinal plants that require some kind of conservation effort. They are important. They are used locally by local communities, maybe some of the tribes in Andhra Pradesh, maybe some of the tribes in Orissa. They are using these plants routinely, and they are endangered species now. They need some help. And there are organizations like the Forest Research Institute in Dehradun and several other locations that are now helping revive these plants and to bring them together. Now, in terms of mapping this diversity, here is one example, different species of ginseng, and how we can use DNA markers. They are being used routinely to identify the correct species so that when we come to a plant germplasm curation and germplasm utilization, we can have definite markers. These were not available to our the Vaidyas of the past, but now we have an opportunity to have another tool to help classify, identify, classify plants so that we can do our fine analysis of Rasapanchaka-based analysis with even greater confidence. In terms of pandemics, we talk about the ongoing pandemic, but out there in our community are even larger pandemics that require help from plants, plant diversity, animal diversity, or the natural diversity of both animate and inanimate entities in the manifest world. And the one that I always highlight and like to alert people to is what I call the silent pandemic: obesity, diabetes, hypertension, lifestyle disease, and more. These are there in the community, and they are more severe than what we see for the ongoing viral pandemic. The April 20, the WHO 2020, the WHO estimates well over 2 billion adults over 18 years of age who are obese or overweight. And there are a lot of opportunities here for plant-based approaches or biodiversity-based approaches to look at human health. The shift that is being seen across the world, particularly here in Europe, and highlighted here a page from the European Union's health details, there is a wish to shift to prevention and primary care. And I feel there are many dialogues to happen here between Ayurveda and people of this nature who are thinking about health and well-being. What is the richness of our understanding of health and well-being? It's shown in this graphic here. The message that comes to us from almost 2,000 years ago, the second Buddha, Nagarjuna, when he talks about this aspect of shunyata. Nagarjuna's Panchadasha Prakara, 15 indicators of health and well-being are listed here. And we can see much of what we are aiming for, whether it's using plant-based dravyas or non-physiological, non-pharmacological interventions, physiological interventions, all connect with these Panchadasha Prakara, and shown very clearly by Nagarjuna that if you can maintain these simple indicators of health, then the chances that you will fall ill will be very, very low. And these are lessons for any school child to understand. We are now feeling that health literacy must move down along the lines offered by Nagarjuna, and every school child must understand these rules. Somehow we've forgotten this. There's some kind of an amnesia in our community. We need to come back to this. And when we look at it in terms of molecular biology and in terms of responses to COVID-19, we can see huge parallels between these physiological aspects in improper sleep, improper diet, and some of the symptoms and markers that we see here for COVID-19. Some immune responses which are seen in a striking way in people who progress to acute COVID can be correlated to many of the aspects that Nagarjuna listed many millennia ago, 2 millennia ago. Now, for what is the way forward? Here is a message from Sidney Brenner. And Sidney Brenner a very important man in the history of molecular biology who defined the genetic code, showing us how the DNA code connects to the protein code and how you connect these two using that matrix of triplets, the three bases that are used in deciding which amino acid is coded from which based on which arrangement of DNA bases. And I have paraphrased this a little bit. Sidney, who's no more, passed away in 2019, he always used to say that there is a need that having done all the things that he did, having done the genetic code and later developing C. elegans as a model organism, the nematode as a model organism, and discovering programmed cell death, he then went on to say that there is a need now to teach biologists another language. There is a need for them to learn another language. I have included in here not just biologists, but also modern medicine doctors. They need to learn a new language. And Sidney's comment was very interesting. He says the endless quest for knowledge will continue as long as human exists. Now, Sidney never knew about Charaka Samhita, because in Charaka Samhita, there is a statement very similar to this, which says that the search for knowledge will continue forever. And we will find knowledge wherever we look. Knowledge about the manifest world and knowledge about life is all around us. And I feel if Sidney was with us today and he was introduced to the ideas of Ayurveda, maybe he would say, well, maybe this is a good language. That is, the language is there, the logic is there, and maybe this is the language that biologists and doctors need to learn in the future. Now, I shift gears here a little bit just to point to where we are in terms of formal education in comparison to education that was offered in texts like the Charaka Samhita. This was early this year when Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences in Karnataka was celebrating their 25th anniversary. And Modi ji, our Prime Minister Modi ji's comments were very exciting. He says, 25 years means Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences is still in the prime of its youth. This is the age to think even bigger and do even better. And I feel there is something here, a very strong message for where we should be going. And on the right-hand side here, I show you the statistics for one state in India, just Karnataka. We have so many other states where similar statistics can be gathered. This was gathered in the context of this Silver Jubilee celebrations. The simple state of Karnataka with 30 districts with a population of about 65 million people, about the size of the United Kingdom, area slightly smaller than the United Kingdom, sixth largest state of India. The richness of educational institutions is shown here. 54 medical colleges, almost 40 dental colleges. There are 43 Ayurveda colleges in Karnataka. There are 5 Unani colleges, yoga science colleges, homeopathy colleges, 11 of them, almost 60 pharmacy colleges, 132 nursing colleges, and 37 physiotherapy colleges, and allied health science colleges. So how come we are not able to take this message of biodiversity and the richness of our ancient texts to these people? There's a problem somewhere. Is anything being done to resolve this? I show you one example, what is happening in Kerala at the Biotechnology Commission. They are promoting very many activities. This is an event that is scheduled for Monday, the 24th of May. I encourage all of you to to register and to see if you can tune in on this program. And the point I want to highlight is the Inter-University Center for Organic Farming and Sustainable Agriculture. Now, this is very important because within this comes the whole idea of sustainability, including biodiversity, including the medicinal plants that we talked about. There's a young professor, assistant professor, Dr. Radhakrishnan, who has previously did his PhD at the Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology in Trivandrum, working on a very important medicinal plant, ginger, and related species, isolating genes for all the enzymes that make the active compounds in ginger. So there is a lot of activity going on in India, and I hope organizations like the Vishwa Ayurveda Parishad and Emami and other organizations, there are so many companies around, I hope we can all come together in one big platform to project the strength of these things. And finally, are activities happening elsewhere in the world where we can connect with? This is in reply to Sharmaji's comment saying, how can we connect with the rest of the world? So here is one example of the European Congress for Integrated Medicine. Unfortunately, COVID has delayed this. We have shifted this event now to November. I don't know whether what the status of COVID will be, but the organization is looking to connect with multiple disciplines, people in different areas, and to learn from them. Once again, the website is bottom here, ecimcongress.com. Please do visit. Please do familiarize yourself with where the rest of the world is going. I also want to highlight a second event here, the World Health Congress in Prague. Once again, we wanted to hold this last year, but COVID has pushed it into this year. We identified a date, 11th to 13th of June, but we have had to push the dates again because of all the ongoing restrictions. Again, I encourage all of you to just visit this website, more than anything, just to familiarize with people holding events around the world. The website is up here on the top, whc2020prague.com. Please do visit, please do see how people around the world are wanting to learn from the knowledge systems in India. Now, finally, I conclude here by offering you this little thought, that we today have healthcare that has reached proportions which are with budgets that are sometimes very difficult to believe. The amount of money that is going into healthcare, the world's most expensive healthcare system, America, where the country spends over $14 trillion, we can't even imagine these figures, has the highest fatality when it comes to COVID-19. You will remember from the earlier image that showed. There is a need now to rethink what health is, and maybe what I call the Ayush prism, shown here, is what will bring these many colors of health care and understandings down towards achieving perfect health. The moral of the story is shown as here on this graphic, which many of you have seen before. Here is a gentleman trying to look at a way to achieve and to arrive at a new future. He has the ideal tool with him and many of those ideal tools, but the person doesn't know how to use it. So if you don't know how to use that ladder that has been with you for thousands of years, in our case, our Ayurveda text, and our understanding of plants, like in the ENVIS database, or in terms of new knowledge that is available, generate genomic knowledge, if we are not able to come together and discuss and find out what is the connection between Rasa Panchaka and neurons in the skin and your understanding of the biology of the twak, the skin. If we cannot come together and do this, then no amount of resources will help us. I finish here, thank you, with this little comment saying, Sarva Dravya Panchabhutikam. This is the take-home message for us. Everything around us is very important. Everything around us is precious for our existence. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Nice presentation with scientific information, detail of resources. You are the master of resource, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your blessings.
I look forward to staying with you and learning from all of you people who are here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice of you. It's your humbleness, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Prashant Kumar Sarkar. Dr. Prashant Kumar Sarkar is professor and head of the Department of Rasashastra, J.V. Rai State Ayurvedic Medical College and Hospital, Kolkata. He is former director in charge of State Medicinal Plants Board, Government of West Bengal. So he is very resource person in case of plant biodiversity in West Bengal and India. Now I would like to invite Dr. Prashant Kumar Sarkar.
Prashant ji, namaskar.
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 Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. It is very funny. Today we are celebrating World Biodiversity Day, and we, the human being, we are destroying the ecosystem the most. So I have a small presentation. That's
why I want to break the chain of destroying.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to take the quotation of Edward Wilson. I'd like to start with famous quotation of Edward Wilson, that is, we need them to survive, but they don't need us at all. Here, we denotes the human being. For our survival, we need the help from whole ecosystem, but for survival of the ecosystem, they don't need the human being. So by taking this quotation, I like to present here biodiversity and health with special reference to Ayurveda, particularly medicinal plants. Here I like to cover biodiversity and health, what is the relation, and the effects of biodiversity loss, specifically the health hazards, and the present Indian scenario of medicinal plants, not the means marketing point of view, rather biodiversity point of view, and what will be the probable solutions. Yeah, this is the small introduction regarding biodiversity and health. This is the foundation of human health. It supplies food and fresh water. As I told that, for our survival, we need the help of the ecosystem. It aids the regulating climate, food and flood and diseases. It provides recreational benefits. It offers aesthetic and spiritual environment, and it contributes to local livelihoods, to both traditional and modern medicines. Almost 75% of the molecules of modern medicine, that is directly derived from the plants and others, directly from the ecosystem, and it helps in economic development also. So I'm coming one by one. Here, we are in the verge of the 6th great extinction. The last means the 5th great extinction, having occurred 65 million years ago, when the dinosaurs and many other organisms went extinct. Now we are in the verge of 6th great extinction. This is likely to be shown in this specific pandemic situation. Yeah, this is some relation of biodiversity and health. It provides the food security. It is related to the dietary health, and it is giving the livelihood sustainability. Yeah, the ecosystem, the biodiversity provides the resources for traditional as well as modern medicine. Here I have given two pictures. This is amla, because in traditional medicine, amla is used as a source material. And this is a picture of Texas bacata, the famous chemotherapy. Taxol, it is derived from this specific plant. So both the traditional as well as modern medicine, though depends on the ecosystem directly. The role of biodiversity in regulation and control of infectious diseases. By destruction of the wetlands and others, we invite the infectious diseases, especially the vector-borne diseases like malaria, dengue, and others. Biodiversity will have in social, cultural, and spiritual importance within the communities. Ecosystem, it is the important resources for medical research. If we go through the medical journal, we can find that almost 80% of the research paper that is related to the medicinal plants and others. So these are directly related to the ecosystem. Yes, this is the probable health risks due to the biodiversity loss. Almost 3 million children under the age of 5 die due to environment-related diseases. The deforestation in the tropics tends to schistosomiasis and malaria. As I told that due to destruction of the wetlands and other, we invite the vector-borne diseases, specifically this malaria and dengue. Not only that, the obesity, diabetes, means the mental health ailments, including depression. These are also related to the biodiversity loss also, the lifestyle disorders. Yeah, the disaster risks. This also occurs due to the biodiversity loss. The 75% of disasters by weather-related event occurs due to the result of the climate change, due to the biodiversity loss. The increased severity of storm damage, including landslide, floods, resulting from the deforestation and woodland reclamation. So here also again, due to the urbanization, we invite the disaster due to the biodiversity loss. The food and nutritional insecurity due to biodiversity loss. It affects the essential food resources and the health of agriculture systems. Failures of harvest, loss of livelihoods, malnutrition and famine, all are due to biodiversity loss only. And risks of non-communicable diseases. As I told that obesity, diabetes mellitus, these are also related to biodiversity loss. The disease risks due to biodiversity loss, those are shifts in seasonal weather pattern. Now in India, we face more summer and rainy season. So the virus diseases occurs most. So here, due to the weather change in the weather pattern, we invite the infectious diseases. The change in weather, we invite the heat stress or water or nutritional deficiencies, lack of basic sanitation and water resources due to destruction of the wetlands. We invite helps this biodiversity loss helps in the spread of many diseases, specifically the infectious diseases due to destruction of the wetlands. Loss of resource due to loss of the ecosystem. Extinction of wildlife. Here, loss of medical resources, including species of potential medical research, like in Ayurveda, we use many products from the wildlife, like we use the product from the caveat cat, we use musk from the musk deer, or due to the extinction of this wildlife, availability of these products ultimately become low in the market. Extinction of marine species. Again, here we in Ayurveda, many medicines are prepared from the marine sources, like Prabal, like Mukta. We use these in various medicine, but due to the biodiversity loss, it impacts of increased sea temperature and acidification. For these reasons, the marine species this become extinct. So in near future, you get this probal for preparation of probal pastry and others. And finally, the most important, due to the extinction of medicinal plants, it directly impact it has direct impact on health. I am coming to that specific point. Yes, this is the present demand of medicinal plants in India. This I don't show it for the market value. This I have shown here to show the probable impact of loss of the diversity due to collection of the medicinal plants. The present demand of medicinal plants in India is 7 lakh metric ton, and it is increasing 5% per year. The total species in trade is 1,250, and among these, the high value species, the requirement more than 100 metric ton is 250. So due to this huge demand, we destroy the source of the medicinal plants, because 80% of the medicinal plants, those are directly collected from the wild source, from the natural source. Only 20% of the medicinal plants is being cultivated. Use of medicinal plants, as we know, that the Ayurvedic, Siddha Unani medicine, as well as homeopathy, and 75% molecules of the modern medicine, those are directly taken from the medicinal plants. We prepare the household remedies from the medicinal plants. The folk medicine also mainly depends on the medicinal plants. Preparation of extracts. Many manufacturing units are in running condition in India. Those are prepared extracts from the medicinal plants, and then those are being exported. And source of various research activities. As we told that 80% research activities in health sector is going on by taking medicinal plants. And as I told that among 6 lakhs metric ton, most of means 80% medicinal plants is collected from the natural source, and only 20% medicinal plants is cultivated in India. So how these are collected? This collection is mostly done by the forest dweller or by the villagers residing with the side of forest or inside forest. They have lack of collection practice. Actually, they have little knowledge regarding the particular use part, which part have to collect it. And the collection is going on most unscientifically. Actually, the traders, they are giving some money to the villagers and forest dwellers, and they collect the medicinal plants directly from the forest or from the natural source. Yes, see, the 36% the used part, it causes direct destruction of the medicinal plant, death of the medicinal plants. Yes, in Ayurveda, 18% root is used as used part of medicinal plants. In 9% cases, woods are used as the used part from the medicinal plants, and in 9% the whole plants like bacopa, like centella, the whole plants are used. In case of ashwagandha, uthania, sarpagandha, roots are used. In case of khadir and others, the roots are used. So this 30% case, it directly causes death of the plants. What are the effects? First, death of the plants, destruction of the natural habitat of the plant. So it causes ultimately the source rare, and ultimately it causes extinction of the medicinal plants. Ultimately, it causes mixing of species, and it directly affects the quality of medicine. And when it affects the quality of medicines, then it directly affects the health. So I'm coming to how it affects the quality of medicine. Yes, this is already told. In his previous presentation, that this is the list of FRL list of the RET plants in India. See, in the southern states, in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, there are most number of RED plants, and as well as in the high altitude states also, in Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand. This scenario occurs due to unscientific collection of the medicinal plants. So these are some common RED plants. See, Sersia chirata, Kotuki, Pycoraza kuroa, Barberis aristata, even Gulurasa superba, Langali, Gymnema silvestri, Ralphia serpentina, Sarpanganda. See, these very common plants are included in the RET list. Although among these, some are now in cultivation, like Sharpagandha, Sersia chirata. So, but these are very common ingredients of the Ayurvedic medicine. So when we don't get these ingredients, then it will ultimately affect the quality of the medicine. Then it ultimately affect the health of the patients. Yeah. How it affects? It leads to drug adulteration. It affects the quality of the medicine. Ultimately, it affects the health of the population, health of the people. How? Yeah, see, this is Bola, Sida cordifolia. We prepare many medicines by using Bola. Bola wrist, Bola taila, and the official species of Bola is Sida cordifolia. But Sida cordifolia now becomes rare. Instead of Sida cordifolia, now we use Sida aquita because it is commonly available. But the content of active principle ephedrine, it is less in Sida aquita in comparison to Sida cordifolia. So when we prepared Bola wrist or Bola toilo by using Sida aquita, the effect of the medicine will be less in comparison to Bola when we take Sida cordifolia as Bola. Sharpagandha, the official variety is Rauwolfia serpentina. It takes 3 years to become the root to be matured. Instead, this is the picture of Rauwolfia tetraphylla. Here, the roots become mature within 1.5 years. So in market, the root of Rauwolfia tetraphylla, it is available commonly instead of root of Rauwolfia serpentina. But the content of reserpine is low in Rauwolfia tetraphylla in comparison to Rauwolfia serpentina. So when the Sarpagandha Ghanapati will be prepared from the roots of Rauwolfia tetraphylla, certainly it will be less effective than the root of Rauwolfia serpentina. So by this way, the loss of biodiversity, loss of ecosystem, loss of medicinal plant, it directly affects the quality of the medicine. That's why it directly affects the health of the population, health of the people. So what strategies we can take to conservation of the medicinal plants, conservation of the biodiversity? So we can grow consciousness among the people, particularly who collect the medicinal plants, by giving training to them, or if we shift the collection to the cultivation, then we can conserve the medicinal plants. Here I have one specific suggestion that the manufacturing unit, the means medicinal plants manufacturing unit, using one medicinal plants more than 10 metric ton, there should be mandate for those manufacturing unit to cultivate those specific medicinal plants. This is one of my submission. So by this way, the specific medicinal plants can be conserved. So this should be the ultimate goal. Ultimately, we should follow the cultivation rather than collection. So the collection practices should be converted to cultivation practice. In India, as I told that 80% medicinal plants are collected from the natural source. Only 20% are in cultivation. So we have to shift this. If 80% medicinal plants is cultivated and 20% is collected from the natural source, then ultimately we can conserve the medicinal plants. Ultimately we can conserve the biodiversity, the ecosystem. These are some strategies taken by the National Medicinal Plant Board. There are some schemes under in situ conservation, the plantation in the inside the forest area, ex situ conservation means here plantation as well as cultivation outside the forest area. Supports to the stakeholder. There are various schemes under the National Medicinal Plants Board for the for cultivation of medicinal plants, and the National Plant Board, they provide 30%, 50%, even up to 75% subsidy for cultivation of those according to species, cultivation as well as plantation. They are providing training program even to the ground level, at the block level. So the National Medicinal Plant Board are taking these strategies for conservation of the medicinal plants. These specific strategies, it is taken by the National Biodiversity. These are called as National Biodiversity Targets. And in between the year 2012 and 2020, particularly the Target 7, it includes by 2015 develop a comprehensive national program on management of invasive species, rare, endangered, endemic, and threatened species of flora and fauna, management of urban diversity, and by 2020 achieve its effective implementation. Actually, now in all the states there are biodiversity board. This biodiversity board, they have formed BMC, Biodiversity Management Committee, and those biodiversity management committee, those are working in every block, in every state. In actually in the biodiversity policy, there is access and benefit sharing. And according to the law of biodiversity, if any particular company or manufacturing unit, they use the natural resource, means medicinal plants or others, they have to share 0.2% of their benefit for development of or conservation of that specific natural source. It may be medicinal plants or other. So all the states are working on that. In West Bengal also, biodiversity board, they are working, they are taking the benefit sharing from the companies, and they are distributed the share to the BMCs, and BMCs are working for conservation of the medicinal plants and other resources also. So by this, I would like to thank you all and end my lecture here. And I would like to convey one message that, again, I would like to say that for conservation of the biodiversity, we have actually we have need all the help of the ecosystem, but the ecosystem do not need our help. So for our development, we have to conserve the biodiversity. So thank you all for hearing me.
हरिओम हरिओम एक्सीलेंट डॉक्टर सरकार, आपने पूरा ही क्लियर कर दिया कि क्या सिचुएशन है हमारे देश में डाइवर्सिटी की, और उसका सबसे बड़ा जिम्मेवार है आयुर्वेद कि बायोडाइवर्सिटी के लिए हम लोग कलेक्शन कर बिना कल्टीवेशन के. डेफिनेटली यू हैव गिवन ए नाइस पॉइंट. थैंक यू. नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट,
जिम्मेदार आयुर्वेद नहीं है, जिम्मेदार हम हैं जो आयुर्वेद के नाम पे ऐसे करते हैं. जिम्मेदार आयुर्वेद तो वी पीपल आर. ओके, सो
thank you. Now I would like to invite Dr. Viren Saklani ji. My voice is reaching to Viren Saklani ji. Saklani ji.
I am
Hello.
Arvind Saklani. Arvind. Hello. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
your voice is coming, but you are not visual, sir.
No, it's okay.
Dr.
I'll
Arvind
start it.
Saklani is working with Sami Labs, Bangalore,
Arvind
as a vice
Saklani.
president.
Yeah.
Ji, sir.
Ji, namaskar.
Dr. Arvind Saklani ji is working with Sami Labs, Bangalore, as a vice president, Agri Biotechnology. He has over 33 years of experience in identifying novel and potent plants for developing nutraceuticals and phytopharmaceuticals, in bioresources development, and in cultivation of medicinal plants. I would like to invite Dr. Arvind Saklani ji for his valuable guidelines on biodiversity. As he is the expert on the topic, we would like to learn from him. Thank you, thank you, thank you for accepting our invitation within very short notice, sir. Hari Om. Swagatam.
नमस्कार पवन जी, सभी लोगों को मेरा प्रणाम. It's a good opportunity for all of us to discuss biodiversity and related aspects today on International Biodiversity Day. So when we were talking about biodiversity, I think everyone in this world now, it's not only us, it's everybody around. They are talking of biodiversity. They have learned a lot about biodiversity. It's not only we, those who are working on plants or biodiversity. I think everybody has learned due to this pandemic time. We have been taught by the Almighty that we have to respect biodiversity. We have to use biodiversity properly, and we have a lot many resources around us that can be used for happiness. So my topic today is rich heritage of biodiversity for happiness. So here is the carpet for you all. That's what I believe in. Nature has given us a wonderful opportunities to see, to go around, to explore. On the top, if you see, this is what we call Valley of Flowers, where if you go in the month of May, June, July, August, even up to September, you see the carpet of flowers. And that changes every day practically. In a week, if you go there, you see all the delphiniums, they are seen, all blue carpet. You see anemones, and you see like a very rare species like Dactyloraja hatajaria, and you see all kinds of medicinal plants, but this is a protected area. Down there again, if you see this carpet again, this is Strobilanthes and Nilgiris. It comes in bloom after many years. It's a cycle. For some species, it is 12 years. Some species, it is 18 years or so. Then we have a plant like Senecio. See the yellow carpet up there. It's in Cas. So this Cas, if you go now, after some time, after rainy season, you see all these carpets, in different colors, like Strobilanthes, Senecio, and all that. Now, what we are blessed with, if you see our country, we have different climatic zones. We have cold desert up there, where you have alpine species, where you have subalpine species, and which is covered by the snow time. Go to Lahaul Spiti, go to Ladakh, Leh, and all these areas. And here you see the plants which are seen maybe hardly 6 to 8 inches or maybe 1 foot. But down there, when you dig like Astragalus species, you see like, the root system that goes down deep and deeper, maybe up to 1 meter sometime. Why? Because it has to sustain in that environment. You go to desert, where also we have so many medicinal plants coming in, because the stress level on the plants is more. It's not that kind of conducive environment. So we have many thorny species in desert of Rajasthan or Gujarat. You come down to Karnataka or maybe these areas, you see the riparian forest, where you have so many lakes or rivers, and all around you see all the green carpets here. And there are some interesting vegetations like Shola in Nilgiris. Chola is a special kind of protected vegetation, you can say. So these are, if you have heard about sacred groves and other conserved forests, this is one of the major forests in Nilgiris. Then you have, like again, Valley of Flower. You go to temperate Himalayas, there you see the pine forest. Just above that you have oak forest. You go to Northeast India, it's full of green, evergreen forest where the rainfall is very high, especially in Meghalaya. Go to Jaintia Hills, it's a different terrain altogether. You have rocky plateaus in Maharashtra and those areas, and this vegetation is totally different there. Now, if you see the species diversity, what I told you, that was ecosystem diversity. We have different kind of ecosystems in the country. Now, if you go to species diversity, you see a lot of variation in different vegetation patterns in different parts of the country. So you see the beautiful, Abitilon. You have Abitilon indicum, you must be knowing in Ayurveda. You have impatiens, many species of impatiens you see, like in Himalayas, in south also. We have Lysicarpus. Then you see very important, like Sausuria heteromala. So you have Sausuria costus in Ayurveda, Koot we call that. And here we have many species of Sausuria. You go to, say, for example, I remember when I used to track from Dhangariya to Hemkund. In that one stretch, you start the tracking, say from Dhangariya 9,500 feet, and you reach up there at 14,200 feet in Hemkund. So this stretch, you have 7 species of Sausuria. So that kind of diversity we see in nature. We have indigo fera, and there are so many species you can see around. So this is all we call the species diversity. Now within a species, when you see, this is called genetic diversity. So this is one interesting picture taken by Mr. Ashish. This is Rajma. Okay, Rajma, generally what you see in the market is just maybe 1 or 2 varieties. But if you see the intra-specific variations, the variation within the species is very, very high. And this is not only the one species, not only Rajma, but there are so many other plants where you have variations within the species, and those traits in the species basically they help us giving these different kinds of content or chemical constituents. Now, what we are blessed with. See, if you see, when we talk about biodiversity, we talk about hotspots of biodiversity around the world. So we have identified like 35 biodiversity hotspots. And in India, we have in Himalaya, we have right from Western Himalaya to Eastern Himalaya, this stretch is one of the hotspots. Then we have Western Ghat. Why these are called hotspots? Because you see a lot of species, speciations there, and a lot of endemism there, which are restricted to confined to these particular hotspots. What are the opportunities that we have? For example, in India, we divide the country into 10 geographical zones. You see up there, as per the vegetation, you have Western Himalaya, you have arid zone, as I mentioned in the earlier picture, and you have Gangetic Plain, upper Gangetic Plain, lower Gangetic Plain, across on the both sides of Ganges. In Northeast India, it's totally different vegetation. We have Eastern Himalaya, and in Andaman Nicobar Island, down there is totally different biogeographic zone, which is completely surrounded by the ocean. So what we have here is, as far as angiosperms are concerned, higher plants are concerned, we have more than 18,000 species. These are the opportunities for us to evaluate, to search, to research, to innovate. Then we have more than 8,000 species that can be utilized for healthcare benefits. And many endemic species, this is more important for us to understand. Why these are important? Because this is our property. Nobody else can really work on it. Only the person or like us who are in India, we have an opportunity to work on this 4,000 plus species which are available to us. Now, already we have documented, for example, I come from a background of ethnobotany. So we have been in ethnobotany past 30, 35 years, and we have documented quite a few species, the traditional system of medicine, food, and material culture and all that. Now we have traditional knowledge digital library where we have more than 2 lakh formulations of Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani documented already. Now there's a big database called Natural Products right from University of Information that can be used for drug discovery for many purposes. Now, if you go down there, the number of plants that have been screened by CDRI, our Central Drug Research Institute. Why I'm mentioning this? Because the plants that are available to us and the speed that we have been working with is very, very slow. See, in like 38, 35 years, they could screen hardly 3,789 species. Okay, and that too for very limited indications. Now, medicinal plants, they are used in traditional medicines, in herbals, now in nutraceuticals, cosmeceuticals. So this is the opportunity that we have. Now, within species, when I'm saying the taxonomy is important now, why I'm saying is always, there is a dearth of taxonomists, the people who can really identify the species, who can really, tell you which species is what. And many times, especially like, those who are small manufacturers or those who are Ayurveda specialists, especially because they do not have that kind of expert people with them who can help them identifying species at a very, very lower level, variety, sub variety, and that kind of level. So you see, for example, like mostly you have all the, if you are a layman, for you, it's all look same. And when it is in dried form, because we are using all these species in dried form, so this is very difficult to identify. Now, there are many tools to identify the species, the medicinal plants. For example, this Sausuria, as I mentioned, this is one of the rare species like Brahmakamal that is grown in the Himalayan mountains. I've worked on this species for more than 5 years when I was with CSIR. So I remember, how tough it was to really go in the field, work in the, all the snow-cladded mountains and collect all these species and then work in the lab, right? So it is really, really important to find a good tool to identify the species at a species level, variety level, subvariety level. Now, there are many opportunities. For example, there are some families, the plant families, which are very rich in different chemical constituents. Here, I'm just mentioning about alkaloids. Apocynes is one where you have this Rauwolfia, for example, Sarpagandha we are using normally. So here, this is all white flowers I have taken. Otherwise, there are many other species. For example, it's a source of vincristine, Vinca rosea, you all might have heard, reserpine, then ellipticine. So there are so many species which are even available to us. If you see how many, number of species to be studied, still like 1,700 species across the globe. We can still really work on these species. Now we have 97, for example, genera in the 97 species in India, and we have 13 endemic species in India. This is another example of anonaceae where it's a basically source of antidepressant alkaloids like reticulin, steferin, polysine. So there are again quite a few endemic species. There are quite a few species and genera which can be really looked into. And the common species you must have heard is Annona muricata or Annona, other species. Now, when we talk about the biodiversity, obviously we talk about the associated knowledge with the biodiversity. So, there's a stream called ethnobotany, and we have been studying all these tribal medicines for years. Let me tell you, all the viewers here, Dr. S.K. Jain, my teacher, my PhD teacher, he started this discipline in 1960, and thereon, it really took a very good shape. Now we have thousands of scientists, they are working on this ethnobotany across universities. Now this is taught in the many medicinal plant research programs in institutions. People are taking help of this, ethnobotanical species. So earlier this knowledge, what we see, it was documented how, mainly it is through oral communications from generation to generation, but some intelligent people, they still documented those knowledge in the palm leaves, or maybe in all, if you go to monasteries, there are some literature available with these people. Now, I'll just mention about my friend, Care Home Pekington. He is in Jaintia Hills, Meghalaya. He is a traditional healer, he's a practitioner, and he is using quite a few medicinal plants to treat a different kind of cancers. Okay, so you hardly find such people who are actually in the remote areas, unknown to the world outside, but they are still like using those resources. They know the value of the resource available to them, and in order to conservation, he has developed a very good medicinal plant garden of his own in Jaintia Hills, right? And this is like how he keeps. This is Dr. Karam Pekington in Jaintia Hills. Now look at this picture, how he has done. He has more than 100 cases of cancers that he has treated already. And it's all like, clinically proven. It's not just he's talking in the air, or he's just saying that, I make a paste and I treat people. No, he has all the evidences with him. So you see the throat cancer. I'm not showing all the pictures just for the reference. I'm showing some. This is another very, very tough case of, say, mouth cancer he has treated. And if you meet him, he's such a down-to-earth person. I remember when I met him first time, he had no place actually to put me anywhere. He's in Jawai, in Jaintia Hills, right? So what he told me, Dr. Saklani, you have to sleep somewhere, you have to find a place. So finally he took me to his small clinic where he had 2 beds for patients. And I had to sleep on those beds for 2 nights. He's such a simple person, but wonderful. So now I think my previous speaker also mentioned about this species, what diversity that we have in medicinal plants. It's a huge diversity. Just for their reference, all those plants like ashwagandha has been talked a lot about this in this pandemic time. Andrographis is another species which have been recognized for COVID situations. In Thailand, it was given a very high respect. And here also in our company, we have developed a product from Andrographis with curcumin. Now, there are so many, formulations that Ayush has already, recommended. And there are so many species that have been used actually, from tree species to Picrorhiza, Schwertia, Caesalpinia crista, and so many other species. If you see all the formulations from Ayush department. And there are many organizations who have been working in this pandemic time, even the households, even the grandmas, grandmothers, those mothers, those whatever they had, they tried their best to make some give it to take care of this pandemic time. So this is the beauty of what we say biodiversity. There are some, of course, why I say opportunities with these species, what you see here. Okay, you see barbarous, Uroxylum, Activa, Varuna, then we have some efforts have been taken already to cultivate this species. Some organizations, they have taken efforts, even Ayush, they have included quite a few species in their massive program of Vriksha Ayurveda. So wherein when I was talking to now our Dr. Shastri, he says the corridors will be for Boswellia, for Commiphora, with the Shankh-Pushpi kind of thing down there. Now, what is the need of our is basically we have to create medicinal plants forests, not medicinal plant garden just, right? So we have to create this medicinal plant forest in order to conserve in a natural way. Every village must have their own medicinal plant forest. That's what I always say to people. If it is done, for example, we introduce native medicinal plants or medicinal trees or medicinal herbs in every village, in their periphery, wasteland, or maybe marginal lands. So it is all done. We are not supposed to really try all the time that we are destroying the forest, we are destroying the medicinal plants, we are taking 90% from the forest. Everybody has a responsibility, not only the Ministry of Fish or National Plan Board or State Medicine Board. It is basically a responsibility of each and every citizen. Now, the quality is another issue that, for example, when I visited China, Kunming, I remember how beautifully they keep their medicinal plants. See the diversity they have. So all down there, if you see ginseng and other species, up there, if you see the many species of ginseng, it's not only one, and they have put even those herbarium sheets and the specimen down there with the area of collections and everything. So it looks like a dry fruit market in China. So now I would like to just mention about this. Ayurveda takes care of Nara, Sattva, Vriksha in toto. आयुर्वेद में हर चीज की बात होती है, हर प्राणी की बात होती है. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः जो हम लोग कहते हैं. तो ये जो परिभाषा थी आयुर्वेद की, वो हमने दुनिया को ठीक से शायद दी नहीं अभी तक. Because we have been thinking only in terms of dollars, in terms of like rupees, in terms of economy. So the thing is, biodiversity and humanity, it's a dynamic in the sense it keeps changing. For example, if you go back to the history, what happened in those days, there we have the same species now. आपके ग्रैंडफादर हैं, उनके फादर थे, आपके फादर हैं, आप हैं, आपके बच्चे हैं, आपके ग्रैंडचिल्ड्रन हैं, right? All the generations, they are different, totally different in terms of their chromosomal number. Their like hereditary characters may be same, but the acquired characters you cannot control on that, right? So they are different. So how come we say that over the period the plants have not changed? They have been changed. So उस परिवेश में उस समय क्या था, आज के परिप्रेक्ष्य में हमें कैसे काम करना है, वो एक अलग चीज है. Now, last point here is biodiversity in Ayurveda. Why lose originality? Why I'm saying this? Many times it is argued you use substitutes. भाई हम क्यों यूज करें substitutes? मैं कहता हूं आपसे कि आप अगर क्षीर काकोली है तो क्षीर काकोली को तैयार कीजिए ना. You run massive programs to safeguard that. Already we have lost due to variations over the period, thousands of years, the plant has changed. And now you switch to another species totally, it's a really disaster. आप कहेंगे फ्रिटलेरिया की जगह पे अश्वगंधा यूज करें, क्यों यूज करें? तो मेरा कहना ये है कि हमारी जो अपॉर्चुनिटी है, जो आयुर्वेद में लुप्त हो रहे हैं पौधे, उस पर ज्यादा फोकस करें. बड़े बड़े जितने प्रोजेक्ट हैं, बजाय कॉमन स्पीशीज में डालने के, वो हम उसमें डालें पैसा. Okay, now I'll just show you something very interesting, how this landscape changed worldwide. Okay, if you look at 10,000 years ago, we had 57% cover of the forest. Down there in 1700, we have another 3% loss. So from 10,000, almost like 8,000 years, the loss was just 5%. And if you look at 1900 to 2020, for example, the loss is 10% loss. So this is how we are destroying our whole world, the whole diversity. And why? Maybe on the right hand side, if you see this graph, how we have increased from population in 1900, it was just 1 billion. Now, population. This is real concern. If you look at this is Indira Point, the southernmost part of the country. What diversity we had before 2004, this when the tsunami came, and now where is our Indira Point this time? Hello? Am I audible there?
Yes.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
So now, yeah, all right. So, when I go back, I studied in a very small town called Uttarkashi. I remember I did my high school there in 1977. In those days, these all fields on the left-hand side, if you see, they were all full of paddy fields. People from, at least I remember 10, 12 kilometers, they had paddy field here in the town, near the town of Uttarkashi. Now, all these paddy fields are gone, completely gone, right? And this is all inhabited by all these, cement jungles. The precious land this is not only the case of, say, Uttarkashi or this, hill town, a small hill town. If you see across the country, all the fertile land has been taken over by the cities, township. This is the biggest concern for the biodiversity specialist. We should not be really, talking about others, but these are very, very important factors. We have lost many land races, varieties, the very, very good species. For example, in my village now, we are settled in Dehradun. We were basmati growers. A very good basmati we would grow, but now there are no fields left. Completely gone. Those basmati we don't see 1.5 inches long when you cook it, and the smell was so nice. The aroma, you can feel that after 2-3 homes, but now it is completely disappeared. So where we are heading to? On the left hand side, it's a cartoon, good cartoon. Somebody has mentioned in the name of the forest or maybe the landscape. They have made the concrete jungle, and now they have named all these buildings in those things. Now, this is another sad story. When we are talking biodiversity, we talk about conservation, we talk about many things we talk about, but we never talk about these disasters. Okay, look at this. This is the old Tehri town, a big town, very famous town, where we had Tehri kingdom. The king was there. Now, the whole tower in the center, if you see, completely gone. And now it is not seen at all. This is 63 kilometers long lake. It's a very, very, very unfortunate, lot of diversity. We talk about, and now I've worked with the, biodiversity boards and others. They talk about the small things, but they never mention how nicely they have converted this 63-kilometer jungle into just one lake. How many plants, how many thousands of species they have removed from there. Now this is there's a person who fought for this dam. Unfortunately, he passed away yesterday. He happened to be my relative, and he was actually there in my marriage, and he only arranged my marriage. And I remember Shivananda Ashram Rishikesh, and he's my mentor on the left hand side, Dr. S.K. Jain, my PhD guy. Look at this coincidence. Both are of almost same age. He was born 26, he was born 27, 6 months difference, and both died within 1 month. One passed away in 20th April last month, and this guy, our Bhagunaji, he passed away yesterday. A real environmentalist. If you remember, if you have heard about Bhagunaji, he traveled 4,700 kilometers from Kohima to Kashmir. He just walked. It took him 2.5 years to understand the ecology, to understand the biology, the biodiversity, and how people are using all these plant resources for their day-to-day purpose. What are the problems that they are facing in their environment? This is another disaster, and you must be aware of it. We all talk about green revolution. We talk about biodiversity. Now, if you look at this cancer train, is expected? Nobody would really appreciate this. Nobody would think about it. But now, every day at 9:30 in the evening, it runs from Bhatinda because there are so many cancer patients. And why? Because these farmers, they following the evolution, using chemicals, pesticide, all kinds of chemicals they use now, facing more cancers. It's pathetic. Okay, so we actually moved from traditional farming to green revolution in 60s and 70s. Now again we are talking about organic farming, because now some maybe big players, they have to earn some money after selling all these pesticide or chemicals. Now they are again talking about organic farming so that they can make more money into it. And why I'm saying this, because if you look at I'm talking about the carbon sink, store of the carbon. The deforestation of Amazon rainforest, How many kilometers? 5,843 square kilometers completely gone in the rainforest of Amazon. Why? Because there is a need of agriculture, more of agriculture. People are talking about organic farming. So now when you're talking about organic farming, obviously 15 to 19% loss is there, yield is less. Okay, so people have to really switch to maybe some areas where they can go for massive agriculture to satisfy the hunger of people, because we are growing, in a very, very fast way. Look at this. I visited Amazon forest, I remember in 1994. I was there for 2 months, but I never saw this kind of agriculture, this kind of forest fires. Those days, I think it was better. Now it is completely gone. What I'm saying is burn your lungs and expand the agriculture. It's a very harsh word, but we are really going ahead with these things. We have to think more about these things. I'm giving a bird eye view. I'm not talking about the technicalities, small things, but here we are seeing from a different angle. Now, in terms of biodiversity, when we talk about conservation, protection, regulation, and sustainable use, we have to really think about it. Long time back, many environmentalists, many people, they said, or the conservationists, they said, no, you just protect the area. Nobody should enter there. But this is not done, because the Valley of Flowers, I remember it was turned into Valley of Persicaria. Why? Because all these invaded weeds, they entered into Valley of Flowers, the grazing was stopped, and finally, how the Valley of Flowers were destroyed, actually many species, the small ephemerals, we call that, very, very tiny plants, which are seen just they come and go, right, for 2-3 days. Their life cycle is very small. They appear when there is a space. Okay, now because of Persicaria, because many impatiens and all this is completely covered. Conservation is good. We are not really talking about against about, but it should have sustainability. Why I'm saying this, we must think about a need of the hour. We have to conserve the species, and we have to actually involve the masses, the people, the villagers, everybody there, so that it is actually conserved in a sustainable way, so that people can use it. I showed you one picture of tsunami, the Indira Point. Now, what we have lost there, we do not know. We never would come to know what is lost after these landslides or the glaciations or maybe your floods and all that, unless we evaluate that. Okay, we must evaluate the potential of each and every species. In the beginning, I showed you 18,000 plus species occurring in India. So we have to really take care of these things. The regulations, they should be in a way so that people are actually involved. They work with you very happily. They should not be seen as a threat. Rather, you should involve people. As I said, if you create jungles and forests in each and every village of medicinal plants, then there is a need of all these things. There is no need. This was like a small initiative. I'm just concluding now. We started this plantation of Herocarpus marsupium. We call it Vijasar. It is a very good anti-diabetic tree species, and so one of the threatened species. So there was hardly any trees left in different parts. So we started this activity in 2018, creating like mother trees for seeds especially, so that in the forest, and it is all done in the forest areas, not in isolation. Now we have planted more than 50,000 trees in the past 3 years, and it's a continuing process. It's for 10 years program. So what I would say, I would just conclude with this: live in harmony with nature. This is what was taught to us by our ancient people, by our ancestors, and see how happily, somebody has painted this so nicely. You see, when you see everything around, all the creatures around you, you are really nice. You feel really nice. But when your greed, it exceeds your limit, nature has to come on the way, and it has to teach you. Anyway, with all these, thank you very much. Namaskar.
Very good, sir. Very good. Very scientific and informative. what
Thank you
we
very
are
much.
doing with our biodiversity. Nicely explained. Really affirming.
Thank you. Thank
Great.
you, all the listeners.
Now I would like to request Dr. Vidhi Bapnaji. Dr. Vidhi Bapnaji, am I audible to you?
Namaskar. First of all, I would like to thank Independent Research Ethics Committee Society, ZANDU Pharmaceuticals, and Vishwa Ayurveda Parishad for giving me this opportunity to share my views. And my regards to all the esteemed speakers who have spoke before me and after me, Dr. Anupama ji. And it is really a privilege for me to share this platform with such esteemed people. So, sir, can you see the slides?
Now it is starting. Yes.
And is the slideshow there, sir?
You can go for slideshow.
Okay, I have.
Yes. All the best, madam.
Okay, thank you, sir. Namaskar. Thank you, Pavanji. Today the given topic to me is biodiversity of medicinal plants, present status and strategies for conservation. As we all know, this year the theme of our biodiversity day is we are the part of the solution for nature. मतलब हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी है कि हम कैसे बायोडाइवर्सिटी को और नेचर को बचा सके. मेरे से पहले the esteemed speakers have talked a lot about this biodiversity and medicinal plants. Sir, with your permission, I will skip some of the slides so that we can save time. And Sharma ji.
As you please. As you please. It's all up to you. Stage is yours.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, biodiversity, as we all know, is a variety of all the forms of life. And this, if I go in history, it was in the year 1988, this term was officially came in some publication. Flora and fauna of diversity mainly depends on climate, altitude, soil, and also the presence of other species. So if we already sir has also talked, the Sarkar sir has also talked about this. These are the facts as per the National Medicinal Plant Board that yes, India is among one of the 17 mega biodiversity countries, and we are really very privileged to be in India, which contribute about 7% of the world biodiversity. And we have about 15 agroclimatic zones, and out of the 17,000 or 18,000 flowering plants, about 7,500 species are used in some or other forms. And as Sarkar sir has also said that most of the collection is from the forest. Only 22 or 20 to 22% comes from cultivation. So these are the various biogeographical zones of India. And these are the various plants that they grow in those. We have so much of diversity. As we see, not only biodiversity, we have lots of cultural diversity in our country. So in the same way, we have lots of biodiversity in case of medicinal plants also. These are the four biodiversity hotspots of India. The Himalaya, this northeastern side, the Western Ghats, and also the Andaman. And these are the various species that are there in the our 10 regions. And these are the various species. So India is also known as the herbarium of the world because we have 4 biodiversity hotspots out of 17 in the world. So if we see the medicinal plant market, so it's a very, very huge market. And I have gone through the latest data, and it was in 2019, it was about rupees 4.2 billion. So, and it is also increasing at very high rate. और अभी हम सबने देखा कि कोविड-19 के समय में मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स का इतना ज्यादा यूज हुआ, शायद इससे पहले कभी नहीं हुआ होगा. आइदर शंशमनेवती हो, एंडोग्राफिस पैनिकुलेटा, कालमेघ, सुदर्शन गणवटी, and many more. So Ayush Kara, so there was a lot of demand for these medicinal plants. And of course, there is a very good export of medicinal plants also. We can see that this is the trend of using. So if the roots are used, that means there is a lot of need to conserve all these medicinal plants. And medicinal plants, as we all know, is there are a lot of uses, like in the Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, homeopathy formularies. Nowadays, a lots of we want everything herbal. That means right from the shampoo, toothpaste, everything. So there is a lot of consumption of medicinal plants right now in various sectors. Now, coming to why there is a degradation of this biodiversity of medicinal plants. So, as there is a very increased demand, then जैसे कि अभी सर ने वैलीज के फोटो दिखाया मैं, फ्लावर वैलीज, they have gone because now with the development of transportation, there is lot of tourism, there is lot of the forests are very much accessible to the public also. So there is they have disturbed their natural habitat. Similarly, increasing human population, so there is more demand, and also the forest areas are converted for one or other reason like agriculture, industrialization and other things. And also there is scarcity of proper information sometimes on the status. Because as we all know, the modern people, they can go through various apps, various websites, and we can gather the information. That is also a tedious job, because when you go through all this data mining, there is a lot of difference between the data. So जो local people होते हैं, उनको तो कई बार पता भी नहीं चलता है कि ये endangered species है. So it is one of the cause of the loss of these medicinal plants. Then, as we know, wildlife, like animal life, has received more attention rather than plants, and climate change and global warming has also caused damage to the habitat of the plants, medicinal plants. As well as also non-scientific collection. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि वो लोग जाते हैं और पूरा plant लेके आ जाते हैं because they don't know what is the useful part. So these also cause loss of medicinal plants, and the wrong methods always cause a loss of medicinal plants and also species. Now, आयुर्वेद में ऐसा कहते हैं हम लोग कि अगर किसी बीमारी को हटाना है तो निदान परिवर्जन करना चाहिए. तो ये रीजन से, तो ये जो रीजन है, we should try to avoid these reasons. और इसके अलावा कंजर्वेशन के लिए क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, I have also written a chapter on this topic also. So, and with my observations and experience during all these years, there are laws, but there should be strict observation of laws. इंडिया में रूल्स आर थॉट टू बी तोड़ने के लिए बनाए गए, ऐसा सोचते हैं. तो एवरीबडी शुड फॉलो द लॉज, एंड देयर शुड बी स्ट्रिक्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. देन द सप्लाई चेन ऑफ मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स, स्पेशली रेयर एंड एंडेंजर्ड प्लांट्स, शुड बी रेगुलेटेड. देयर शुड बी पीरियोडिकल सर्वे. कई बार हम देखते हैं बहुत पुरानी रिपोर्ट्स हमें मिलती है, पर लेटेस्ट रिपोर्ट जो है सर्वे की, दे आर नॉट. सो पीपल शुड, एंड द इंस्टीट्यूट्स, द नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट शुड टेक these various surveys of medicinal plants in various area, and they should publish it. Then there should be local people's participation in various ways. Like we can do some awareness. Like in Gujarat, every year we are doing awareness program among the society, among the students, among the farmers. So there should be awareness in the local people. Then annual harvest quota of some this REP species can be fixed. then a multidisciplinary research is needed. Because as we can see today, there are people from various disciplines. So if we can come together and we can do a good R&D, then that will be very beneficial for our nation. Then as such said, cultivation. Cultivation is the best conservation option. And I agree with Arvind sir that we should not only cultivate, but we should create medicinal plant forest. So in some areas, they are doing like this unorganized cultivation and the medicinal forest is being prepared. So we can also save these medicinal plants, rare and endangered, through biotechnology. Then biological studies can be done regarding their various aspects. Gene banks are already there, they need to be developed, and more medicinal plants gardens. Even at the taluka level also, there should be medicinal plant gardens, and the people should go there, they can see, and they can also know what is the use and how beneficial they are. So that will create awareness among the public. Then private sector should also be involved for all these things. Sometimes forest में से जो collectors होते हैं, जो drug collectors होते हैं, that is their only livelihood. So this issue should also be addressed properly. Then the local community should be given importance always for collection as well as cultivation, and the various schemes they should be made aware for those schemes. Then collection and harvesting of this RET should be strictly banned, and the collector should be educated for GACP, that is good agriculture and collection practices. Already government is doing a lot of things, and we should do it more aggressively now. सर ये हमारी मजबूरी है, कई बार हमारा भी फार्मेसी है, तो सब्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स, बिकॉज वी आर नॉट गेटिंग the original plant materials. So many times we have to go for substitution. So for example, you said like अष्टवर्ग के लिए हमें कई बार नहीं मिलता है, तो वो 4 ड्रग डालनी ही पड़ती है. So substitution, I believe that a lot of research should be done, and we can it should not be on the physical properties or something, but the substitution should be on the basis of pharmacological activities. So that will help to save the endangered species. So this is one of my recommendations. Then we should educate people in various ways, like creating these awareness camps, seminars, workshops. Then one more point is, जैसे कि हम योग के बारे में भी बोलते हैं कई बार, योग और आयुर्वेद के बारे में, it should be in our school and college curriculum. क्योंकि जो हम बचपन से पढ़ते आए हैं और जो प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, वो संस्कार हो जाता है, and then we follow it for our lifelong. So I believe that this biodiversity thing should be in the academic curriculum at the school as well as at the college level. In our BMS nowadays, the new point, conservation and cultivation of medicinal plants, is already there, and in PG also there is this point. So I recommend that it should be in the curriculum, so that will create an awareness at very low age also. Then some traditional methods of agriculture like Vriksha Ayurveda, they should be tried, and they can serve the purpose very well, I think so. That in the Vriksha Ayurveda, they also create awareness among the people. जैसे कि अथर्ववेद से ही हमको प्लांटेशन का वो सब महत्व सिखाया गया है, तो अगर वृक्ष आयुर्वेद में भी दिया गया है कि अगर हम ये प्लांट्स करते हैं, लगाते हैं, तो उसका क्या हमको फायदा होता है. This is the way we can emotionally also we can impress people and encourage them for conservation of these medicinal plants. जैसे कि हमारी संस्कृति में कई सारी चीजें हैं पूजा करने के लिए. जैसे मुझे पता है हरतालिका तीज की जो पूजा होती है उसमें लगभग 56 टाइप्स के प्लांट्स चाहिए होते हैं. तो दिस इज ए वे, जो हमारे धार्मिक संस्कार है उसमें ऐसा ही कहा गया है कि इतने अगर हमको चाहिए तो वी विल कीप देम around us. So this should be this can also be done. And this is the way biodiversity conservation can be done. Prashant sir has already talked about it, FC2, in situ. Then these are the various endangered plants. As I said, as 197 species in various states. State-wise, the data differ sometimes. And these are the various level of the plant conservation and its a status: extinct, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered, the near threatened, least concern, and some data is not there. So we should try that every species should be studied for its status. These are the various categories. These are some of the endangered plants, and we are really at our pharmacy, we are facing a lot of crisis of these plants like Jatamansi, Atinisha, Vaksana, and all these we are pushed. Then these are also like Vidhi, there's Agaru, Ashok. So these are the various species. So even Indian government has banned some of the species from export. And as Sarkar talked about FRLSTA, they have developed an app. And through this app also, this is a very good app from where we can see the status of the plant. So species-wise, habit-wise, state-wise, and what is the threat status. So this is the app that can be installed, and we can see the status. And yes, there is a Biodiversity Act already in place in our country. And every state has its own biodiversity boards. And these are the various roles. They regulate all the things in the state and the national level. And there is also penalty for those who are not obeying these laws. And there are some biodiversity heritage sites in India. And I have collected, there are many sites. I have just written here some of them which are related to medicinal plants like Deodar forest. And these are the protected areas also. And the Convention on Biological Diversity is also in place and doing very good job. And NMPB in our country, National Medicinal Plant Board, has lots of schemes, central sector schemes, where conservation and cultivation of medicinal plants are being undertaken, and they have done lots of work for this. And all the interested people can also apply for these grants and can do the various schemes like the development of herbal gardens. These are the various things that they have done. They have also done some project on tissue culture. So these are my reference. I have taken photographs from the internet, and that were only for the educational purpose. And as the 2050 goal is to live in harmony with nature. So as today's the theme is we are a part of solution for nature. So at our institute in JS Ayurvedic College in NADIAD, we are continuously in a process. Today only on the day of this International Biodiversity, my colleagues have done this seed collection of rare medicinal plant, and we do this seed ball workshop every year on World Environment Day, and we distribute it in the vicinity around us. And we are doing plantation programs, plant distribution, organic farming training for farmers as well as for the students. And we are also taking initiatives to create awareness like doing conferences and webinar and workshops for students, where the students will come up with ideas how we can conserve the biodiversity. And sometimes these young minds come with very good solutions. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much. And once again, I thank the platform for giving me this opportunity. Sharma ji, my Guruji, Dr. Mahesh Sadip sir is also among the audience. My pranam to sir. And
Swagatam, Dr. Mahesh Daditi ji.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Excellent, madam. Excellent. Very fast bird's eye view, no doubt. Excellent. Informative, very informative. and scientific.
Thank you, sir, because it was already 6:10 and previous speakers have already, so I skipped some of the slides, but I think I could serve the purpose.
Excellent, excellent, no doubt, excellent. Now I would like to invite Dr. Anupama Mitra. She is agronomist, PhD from Jadavpur University, MSc Agriculture Biotechnology from Russia, with a specialization in cell engineering. She is very renowned agronomist here, involved in various social activities, along with Horticulture Society of India, and she is now director of institute, a training institute, EGCFM Horticulture Training Institute, very unique institute in Eastern Zone. So I would like to welcome Dr. Anupama Mitra ji for her valuation. Welcome, welcome, Doctor.
Namaskar and thank you. Thank you, Sharma ji, for this opportunity, and definitely today's discussion बेहतरीन discussion है. From शुरू से absolutely I enjoyed every bit of it, and I think all the other guests and speakers also enjoyed too much of this very vibrant biodiversity session today, and which is interconnected with health. This is one of the very important part which nobody actually connected. As Dr. Thangavelu rightly said, like merging, connecting, bridging all specialists into this science is very much required at this hour, at this age. So my earlier speakers, Dr. Sarkar, also narrated very explicitly on the medicinal plant scenario of our country, along with with the policies and with all the hazards, with no collection but only cultivation, which I will come up later as an agronomist, what problem I am facing after cultivation. So this also I will come up. And Dr. Sarkar rightly said about the biodiversity management commission, which is with the profit sharing, with the benefit sharing, sorry, not the profit sharing, benefit sharing procedure, what is happening nowadays. So with all this, let me, sorry, and with Dr. Saklani's tremendous point with medicinal forest, which I am also toying with this game. A lot of medicinal gardens I have made in the past 20 years, but one was a medicinal forest. So it is also in my heart to one day to start on with a medicinal forest, which Dr. Saklani has started with Sami Labs of 50,000 pterocarpus trees, which is absolutely a brilliant news today for us all. Dr. Kumath also narrated about the policies, about the awareness. So now very little for me to share today, but let me start with my presentation. Is it audible? Is it visible?
Yes, it's visual. Please go
Yes.
for slideshow.
Right. Yes, ours is a beautiful world, and Dr. Saklani rightly said let's make biodiversity into happiness. My slide is also full of colors, and it's mainly, I will also skip many because what has been already told. Now, this human health and well-being benefits of contact with nature are becoming increasingly recognized today and very well understood. Yet, the implications of nature experiences for biodiversity conservation are far less clear. Theoretically, there are two plausible pathways that lead to positive conservation, if I rightly understand. The first is a direct win-win scenario where biodiverse areas of high conservation value are also disproportionately beneficial to human health and well-being, meaning that the two sets of objectives can be simultaneously and directly achieved as long as such green spaces with dense forests are safeguarded appropriately. The second is that experiencing nature can stimulate people's interest in biodiversity, concern for its state, willingness to take action to protect it. Therefore, generating conservation gains indirectly. So to date, the two pathways have rarely been distinguished and scarcely studied. So what is biodiversity? I will definitely not log into much this because already a lot has been said in this session. Species diversity was also today touched with the variance, abundance of different types of organisms and genetic diversity also being touched. We can see lovely colored bell peppers, same species but of different genetic diversity. All these things agronomically are coming into our everyday life today. Ecosystem diversity is also a very important with merging of urban and rural landscape. The diversity is changing. Diversity to maintain very important part of it. Now, the $1 million question, how many species are there? We have talked about several millions and several thousands of species. Now, global species estimates from 2 million to 100 million. There are umpteen zeros the amount of species we have today. But the number of species present in little known ecosystems, such as soil beneath our feet and the deep sea, can only be guessed. It has been estimated that the deep sea floor may contain as many as 1 million undescribed new species. Simply, we really have absolutely no idea how many species there are. So we jump to the biodiversity centers. And, hotspots, we have already talked about hotspots. India contributes only 12.5% of the world's flora and 6% fauna today. Now, why we are talking so much about biodiversity? The world has begun relatively recently to lose species and habitats at a very increasing. And all we know is because of art. So there is no second thought of it. And how many species are we losing? This is what I'm going to narrate today. Well, this is the $1 million question again, and that's very hard to answer. Firstly, we do not know exactly what's out. It's a big, complex world, and we discover new species all the time. In today's artificial intelligence age of artificial intelligence, age of data science, really, do we really know what we are losing? It's a small study, 1980, which came across while preparing this lecture. There is a study of 19 trees in Panama, out of which 1,200 beetles found, and 80% unknown. 80% unknown. I don't know. It is a data of 1980. Maybe out of this 80%, now almost all are known to our science. But again, it's very little we know today. Now, so if we don't know how much there is to begin with, we don't know exactly how much we are losing. But there is a figure. 100 million different species on Earth. The extinction rate is 0.01%. At least 10,000 species go extinct. Well, and imagine where we are standing. The most dangerous part is my carnivorous species. Tops the food chain. Large carnivorous usually fairly extensive territories they require, and to provide them with sufficient prey. But today, where the space is, human population increasing, encroaching all wild areas. So poor carnivores, this mammoth animals, tigers, they are shrinking their habitat. The number of carnivores also decreases. Same thing happening with these baboons. If population becomes, too small, then simply finding a mate or interbreeding can become serious problem. So they don't get their similar species. So that's how it's happening with the migratory birds. We need suitable habitats to feed and rest in widely special locations, and are vulnerable to loss of. We are losing all the species because we don't have space. See, butterflies. If completion of a particular life cycle, we know from a very old, young age, we study life cycle of a butterfly. They require several different elements to be in place at very specific times. Then the species is vulnerable if there is disruption of any single element in that life cycle. So that's how even the butterflies are getting. This is a very rare example. With very narrow requirement of such single specific food. They want this Thangavelu tree. Only one thing, one tree they feed on. And that is extreme. So these are specialists. Next.
Slightly louder, please.
Okay. So is it audible? It is okay? Hello? Can you hear me? Perfect? Okay. And now this is for our agronomists, this is very, very alarming. That is alien invasion in Sundarbans, invasive species. They have a growing problem in both ecologically and economically. The impact of invasive species on native species. That is, the invasive species, they eat the native species. During a study, it is found 4 invasive species distributed abundantly in Sundarban mangrove ecosystem, which is one of the largest biosphere reserve of the world, as you know. This is Prosopis tuliflora. This is an invasive species, and as I have highlighted, you can see it strikes very deep-rooted, almost 53 meters, and makes other species fight for nutrient, fight for water. So we have to know these species, we have to eradicate these species. Then Mycenium, micrantha. This also covers huge tall trees. Almost they cover the canopy. This stops the photosynthesis and kills the plant. So that's how it's 20% of the entire area being in the Chitwan National Forest. We don't have the manpower, neither the technology to eradicate. Most unfortunately, many of us doesn't know this mycelium. Then is your this acacia. This is also very, very dangerous species. We shouldn't be treating them as a green plant and maintaining them. No, they can survive even fires and soil tainted with uranium waste. So these are fast growing, but they are again killing our native ones. So what we have to conserve the native species. That's why I am telling all these things. Grandeur Madera patana. This is also, it came as a medicinal plant. And now we have discovered that it's not, it's a wide weed from Africa and tropical Asia. So we should be not entertaining these type of species anymore. Now, how does biodiversity loss affect me and everyone else? Yes, it is affecting me. Biodiversity underpins the health of a planet and has a direct impact on all our lives. Put simply, reduced biodiversity means millions of people fall to a future where food supply are more vulnerable to pests and disease, where fresh water is in short supply. So this is how it is affecting me. Ecosystem services already been touched by my previous speakers. Now, how much serious is ecosystems worth globally? This is again in money. We human beings, we really understand money. This is US 33 trillion per year. The value of goods and services we provide. So let's just see the zeros. What we are taking it out from the ecosystem. And it's not about money also. It's about saving lives. Because food security is one thing. Medicine, we know, herbal medicines, how we are taking out from the jungles and we are just clearing it out. Meat from wild animals forms a critical contribution to food sources and livelihoods in many countries. Especially those with high level of poverty and food insecurity. They kill wild animals, they kill wild fauna to just to get the hunger out. So that is how also we are losing a lot of species. We have picked, logged, plucked, hunted animals, trees, flowers. This is a terrible scene for medicine, for souvenirs, for status symbol, building materials for food. This is how we are losing. Now, if we see the very well, the graph, Dr. Saklani has told us the human population graph, and this is the the Living Planet Index, which tracks nearly 4,000 populations of wildlife, shows an overall fall population trends to 68% from 1970 to 2000. So this is something which is drastic, which needs now a solid hand to hold. And now the conservation of biodiversity, many, again, my previous speakers have told about ex situ, in situ. So I will run through few slides about ex situ, how we can conserve in zoos, in aquarium, as a plant collection. Calcutta Zoo, even I think a decade back when we were young, we saw this. turtle with your old tortoise. This is conservation. This is conservation. Aquarium. We can see this still in few of the aquariums. These are conservations. Yes, this is how we can conserve. And finally, the plant collection. Since I am fortunate that I am living near the oldest botanical garden of the world, that is botanical garden in Howrah, where this big banyan tree is there, and there are housing almost 1,500, 35,000 plant species. So this is some photographs from that. These are Lodoicea maldavica, which is a very, very extinct of that garden. This is Victoria amazonica, which is from the Amazon forest, where it is conserved in our Indian Botanic Garden. If anyone of you have visited during the month of February, March, April, you see these huge leaves of Amazonica giant water lily. We generally see this single stem palms. So this is Hyphanic herbacea. So this is the branching palm. So this is also you can visualize there in the IBG. And finally, this baobab, which unfortunately got uprooted during our last Amphan storm, but this is a young one is there. So these are the areas where one can go for conservation with natural forests, with biosphere reserves, with national forest and all. So this is how we can conserve the biodiversity. Now coming to the countdown situation, the human health and well-being benefits of contact with nature are becoming increasingly recognized, as we have already said. So a collection of ideas to encounter the risk. I've got a few things in my mind. To present this is the next pandemic could come from a factory farm. Factory farms are an ideal breeding ground for the next pandemic, So raising and transporting large number of pigs in very close proximity is ideal condition for a dangerous influenza. So that also we have to keep in mind, that not only biodiversity of native species, but what we are rearing, veterinary science, zoological science, what we are rearing today to feed our world population is also in an alarming situation. And that's how we are developing these dangerous influenza viruses. And it is proven how easily pig can spread novel viruses. So, so what we have to think today is of a future protein. So not just from animal protein we depend upon, but we have a large spectrum of our protein manufacturing from plants. So how Smart Proteins is transforming 10,000-year-old animal protein production in today's platform, and its game-changing potential to save our beautiful planet. This can change our planet, So, and this plant protein can be cultivated in a more sustainable way. So if we are talking about India, we know pulses, we know nuts, dal chawal, dal roti is our staple. So pulses are growing globally. So all protein innovation by helping us create better alternative protein products can help build a sustainable global food system with this venture. So indigenous crop innovation in India, we can aim to develop alternative protein ingredients and products for human food which positively impact the bioeconomy, the environment, the biodiversity, nutrition, food security, and consumer sustenance. So we have to trust the Southeast Asian countries have already started with soya proteins and nuts from marine algae. So now also we have to think and we have to spread this awareness of plant protein. Now it's time to restore. I am in the end of my session, and this report reminds me that we destroy the planet at our peril, and we cannot shield humanity from impacts of environmental destruction. We say that to protect nature. No, no, no. We cannot protect nature. Nature protects us, and we have ample examples in the last few decades how nature can protect themselves. This typhoons, this storms, this glaciers, this earthquakes, everything. To protect, so nature is again coming back. My life, I really loved talking to you all. I don't know whether you have enjoyed this. Last diagram.
Very nice, Dr. Anupama. You have enlightened a new aspect before what Dr. Vidhi Bapna, Dr. means very new, unknown aspect that plant is eating plant and plant is not in favor of plant. Really, it is very great. Unique. I would like to invite the president of Vishwa Ayurved Parsad, Assam, ex-principal of Govt Ayurvedic College, Dr. Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji, for his valuable blessings.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan Sharma ji, for organizing a wonderful webinar for International Biodiversity Day. You have invited an excellent speaker for this webinar. All the speaker has presented their speech very nicely. Dr. Madan Thangavelu has given stress on cultivation. Dr. Prasant Kumar Sarkar also gives stress to maintain the biodiversity. And Dr. Arvind Saklani gives stress to identify the plant. And the Professor Vidhi, Bapna, Dr. Anupama. All the speaker has presented their talk very nicely. I, as a president, offer sincere thanks to all the speaker and especially to Dr. Pawan Sharma for organizing very wonderful seminar. Thank you to all.
Anybody from the audience, if any comment is there, any suggestion is there? I don't hope so. I would like to thank Dr. Manjusa Rajgopala ji also. Dr. Manjusa ji, would you like to speak something? Dr. Manjusa ji.
Namaskar,
She is
sir.
professor in All India Institute, Ayurveda.
मैंने speaker का पूरा
Voice is not coming.
celebration. It is clear?
Yes,
Hello?
now it is okay. Yes.
So, good evening to all. I could hear 3 speeches completely and 1/2, and I would like to say definitely, as the principal sir told, the chairperson of the session, like all the deliberations were very nice, and especially I like Dr. Arvind's deliberation, very nice, and he has shared one name of one person who is treating cancer patients in Meghalaya. That information I think we should utilize, or his that person's knowledge. I think Dr. Pawan Sharma ji, I request कि हम उनका कुछ अनुभव का कहीं आयुर्वेद में यूज कर सकते हैं. आप उस फॉरम में हैं, आप एक कंपनी में हैं, तो हम उनका कुछ लाइक अनुभव का लाभ ले सकते हैं. With this, I
मैं
would like to
सकलानी जी से
congratulate.
प्रार्थना करके उनका
जरूर जरूर बिल्कुल मैं आपको
जी सर. कि कैंसर एक ऐसा एरिया है सर कि जिसमें आयुर्वेद डेफिनेटली कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है. उसको सिर्फ लाइक साइंटिफिक वे में प्रेजेंटेशन की जरूरत है. जस्ट
Yes, you are correct.
जरूर जरूर एब्सोल्युटली
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मंजूषा जी. ये मिस किरण, am I audible to you, Miss Kiran? Would you like to speak something? I don't think she joined. So at the end, I would like to thank my sincere, heartfelt thanks to all Dr. Madan Thangavelu, Dr. Saklani ji, Dr. Prasanta Sarkar, Dr. Vidhi ji, Dr. Anupama ji, and my elder brother, Dr. Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Rajgopala ji. Thank you.
It was very nice to hear all of you. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Our standard time is 4 to 6. Please join these webinars if of your interest. I am regularly organizing on
very
every
much.
topic.
Yes.
Please.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Pawan ji. Namaskar.
Hari Om ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hurry up.